Next question is, hey Fritz, my hypnosis client needs help with their rage. They seem to go into this rage whenever they are arguing with their partner. What metaphor should I use to help them? Great question. And I'm going to be completely blunt here. There are going to be no metaphors that are going to help type of person to be out of rage. And so gonna just throw this out there because this is a big misconception. And this is unfortunately how most therapists think of when they're in their sessions. They think of what should I use inside the session, when really the biggest thing that we want to do is investigate our client's problem, right? How can there be any way that we can know what will work for our client before actually exploring it, right? And I know that this is not your fault because you were trained to literally think this way. You were trained to look for something else, a script that your hypnosis training company uses to help your clients with a problem, even though they know nothing about your clients. And so we get in this trap of what metaphor should I use? What script should I use? What kind of technique should I use? It is not about that. If you want truly fast lasting hypnosis results and you are someone who wants to make a difference in your clients' lives, ditch all that shit and instead do this. Explore the problem. Really, that is it. Ask your clients questions about the problem. People love to talk about themselves, right? Especially with your client. They hired you so that they can receive help solving a problem. So ask them about it, right? If you ask questions instead of talking at your clients, can you just not imagine how much better your results are going to be? It's definitely a lot more challenging and it takes a specific high level advanced skill set. However, the results you'll get is actually going to be tremendously and exponentially better than using a metaphor. So for a client whose pattern is rage whenever they disagree with their partner, that's really, really juicy. Here's how you want to think of it first if you haven't learned the hypnotic questioning method. What you want to do is like really be curious, right? This is someone who you've just mentioned in just a little bit of information. This is someone whose default pattern is to go into a rage whenever there's a disagreement. In the nervous system world, we call that a default pattern within their fight nervous system response, right? Somehow this client has learned and has upped the bar so that instead of calmly negotiating, which is the part of the ventral vagal state, of rest recovery and connection with others, instead of them having that default of reasoning and talking with the other person, they have now defaulted into rage, which is really up here in terms of energy, right? So for you as a hypnotherapist, it is your role to explore that default pattern, right? It is not, there's not going to be a metaphor to explore how the client got from regular reasoning to rage. There's a reason why that gap exists, right? There's a reason why their default pattern is rage. So explore that. Ask them questions about that. Like, how did you come to the spot or the place in your life where your default is all the way up here, where the string is really high? Well, something to think about. They're probably stuck in their sympathetic nervous system state. And this is what we talk about inside the NeuroSync program, right? With Bulletproof Nervous System as well, where we actually get clear on these symptoms because there's a reason why the default pattern is there. That is what you need to explore through questioning. A metaphor may or may not work for the client. If a client is in rage and you're talking to them and you're like, okay, so you feel rage when you have a conflict with your partner. If you actually revivify that feeling of rage in your sessions, which can happen when you help them explore it, when they're in that rage, they're not going to be able to listen to your metaphor anyway, because when a client or whoever, when people are in a rage state, that thinking brain ain't on, okay? It is not on. They are in a rage. We have had this, right? We have experienced ourselves when we're in rage. We're not listening to anyone. We're like in just this tunnel vision of like just wanting to fight. There is no way a client in rage is going to hear that metaphor and be able to act on it. That's why that shit don't work, right? And so instead of thinking that way of what can I do with my client, how about what can I do to expand my skill so that I can question this client? And what am I curious about that towards my clients that made this client default to rage instead of using reason and talking to their partner before going into a rage attack, right? That is where your power is. That is how you're going to make an impact. So if you have any questions at all or comments, let me know. I will see you soon. Let's make a massive impact together, one conversation at a time.